Our first speaker is Lyttle. Please join me in welcoming him.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fareed. I'm super glad to be here, and as you can see, I work for Schneider Electric, and I'm grateful for their support, not only in the work that we do, but sending me to a wonderful conference like this. So I'll be talking about how, with a small team within Schneider, we use R to design visualizations that hopefully can benefit the entire company and, more importantly, our customers. So you might ask, who are Schneider Electric? We are more than 150,000 employees worldwide, and our basic mission statement is to help our customers use electricity safely and efficiently. So you might wonder, how do we use our data? Our products collect and transmit data on things like power consumption, number of operations, room temperature. And our customers have questions like, when am I going to need to replace this power supply? And how much energy did my facility, how much should it have used last month? Or do I have enough cooling in my data center? So these are sort of some of the fundamental questions that our customers are interested in answering. And Schneider, being a very large company, has a lot of different business units, and business units will each have their own ways of reaching their customers to look at their data. And that our businesses use different visualization tool sets, and among these are things like Chart.js, D3, Qlik Sense. These all run in the browser, and they use JavaScript, but perhaps importantly for me, none of these is ggplot2. So a little bit on how we are organized, or how what my perspective on the company is. That each Schneider Electric business, they each have data science teams, and we also have a central data science team that focuses on questions that can sort of help all the other data science teams. And this is who I work with. And whenever I talk to somebody who works in data science and they tell me what they're working on, I find this model that you know from Hadley Wickham and Garrett Grellman to be tremendously useful. I'm sure most all of you are familiar with this as well. That we have these fundamental steps, and as someone describes what they do, I sort of slot this away into which steps they're working on. So I'll do this for you as well. The great majority of the team that I work on the sort of the import, tidy, transform, and model steps of the data science process. And it's a larger team based principally in France. They use almost exclusively Python, and their mission is to deploy models and data as web services. And we're trying to get into the sort of into the developer space. So if there's something you're interested in, this is a sort of a new initiative from Schneider called Exchange, and you're very welcome to check it out. When we deploy our models, interestingly enough, we do this using Azure ML, and right now David Smith is in a simultaneous talk. He's talking about Azure ML, so if you get a chance to watch that on video, that may be interesting. So the part of the team that I work with concentrates more on visualize and communicate. We're a smaller team. We use R. And the thing that we deploy is practices. And here we are. Here's me. And we are very fortunate to be working with a PhD student at Iowa State, Haley Jepson. And last year, we got a challenge from the Schneider Electric UI design team. They're responsible for setting UI design standards across all of these different customer-facing tools. And they wanted us to help contribute to data visualization guidelines for these customer-facing tools. And after this meeting, I was super excited. And then I started looking at it and thinking, and this is what started to appear. Data visualization guidelines for entire Schneider Electric customer-facing tools, and it became a very intimidating problem. and thought about it for a while and figured what we need are some tools. And so I'd like to spend the next few minutes talking about some of the specific members in the community who have sort of inspired us to help point us the way. I feel bad that I'm singling out 4 because it's that number of folks who have helped me and helped us is, of course, much greater than 4, so I hope you'll all forgive me if I focus on 4. The first is Klaus Wilke. Many people here may be familiar with his book, Fundamentals of Data Visualization. And he offers some very solid advice, and as you may know, he uses ggplot2 to create everything in the book. But the book itself doesn't contain any code, and this is brilliant. And so from Klaus, we want to sort of take inspiration of technique, and you know, if I'm being a little bit too honest, that if we just took copies of this book and distributed them throughout Schneider, that's going to get us a lot of the way there in coming up with data visualization guidelines. So what we hope to do is to maybe tweak some of Klaus's advice and adapt it to Schneider contexts. The next inspiration, you're all very familiar with Jenny's keynote this morning, and from her, I'm very inspired by the tooling, and we got a little bit of this this morning. Is that she's very good at pointing out how we need to focus on what's important and to work towards good enough. And I very much like this image. This is from a tweet that she sent out in conjunction with a paper, Good Enough Practices in Data Science, with Greg Wilson and others. And what makes this idea so interesting is that she helps provide the tools to help us focus our ideas. And you may be familiar with the Use This package. I use it extensively. And then the Happy Git with R, and I think one of the best URLs, best URL names ever, what they forgot to teach you about RStats. The third inspiration is if you were here last year for David Robinson's keynote, this helped to clarify a lot of things for me. Is that I suppose I was a lot like Dave in that I thought that, that things would become less useful to more useful as the idea became more mature. But in practice, anything that is still on your computer is essentially useless. And anything that is off your computer has got a chance. And so this was a very clarifying idea from Dave that I'm going to try to carry through. And then finally, community. And that Our Ladies has been a great inspiration in how to really set up an effective community. I hope it's okay that I single out Gabrielle in this. Perhaps appropriate because we're in San Francisco where she launched it, and now, as I'm sure you know, hundreds of chapters. And in addition to the great technical exchanges that go on, what benefits me, and certainly I'm not central to this, is that through their amplification of voices and focusing on some very important conversations, it really benefits all of us. So I wanted to point out Our Ladies as a particular inspiration to me. So I'd like to spend the next few minutes going through a particular problem that we're addressing at Schneider, and this is to come up with a categorical color palette. And the challenge is that we have these brand colors that are optimized for marketing, but they're not optimized for data visualization. And there's, as you may know, that these are two competing sets of goals here. And from the data visualization point of view, we want to propose a related categorical palette. And I want to take into account color vision deficiency, yet still remain Schneidery. And of course, Schneidery is in the eye of the beholder, and particularly the UI design team who will have the ultimate say on this. So I'm going to walk you through what some of the steps that we went through. Is we start out with technique. And as I say, the book offers some useful advice, and Klaus is also one of the contributors to the colorspace package. And if you go on YouTube and look for the Use R talks last year, that Achim Zeilis had a tremendously useful talk that really helped us get on our way. And as a bit of a side note, it was at this conference a year ago that I was very fortunate to be sitting beside during a session Carlos Scheidegger, who's here this time as well. And during the wee breaks between the presentations, I got a very short course on color theory that was very illuminating. But the upshot of it here is, and Will Chase talked about this a little bit this morning, I'll use slightly different words, is to think in terms of hue, chroma, and luminance rather than red, green, and blue. And there's all these interesting paths that you can go down. For instance, we start with RGB, hue, chroma, luminance, visible gamut, color vision deficiency, perceptual distance. It just goes on, and each of these are super interesting rabbit holes that Haley and I, we found ourselves lost in them. And it makes for great fun, and at times, I think we felt like this guy. So what we needed is focus. And this is where we come back to this idea of tooling, and that we needed numbers to show perceptual differences. And that we began with the colorspace package, and then we're tuned in to Thomas Lynn Peterson's Farver package, which can be used to quantify differences between colors. And we decided to try to put these together with a set of tools that we could use. And this is available out on GitHub. It's called Palaval, and it's this first sort of mix between colorspace and Farver. And in the spirit of the FAA certified duct tape that we see here, it's good enough for now. I hope to improve it later, but it got us through what we needed to do. It's 70% there. Then on to communication. We created an internal blog, and then using Distill, and we're lucky enough at Schneider Electric that we have an internal instance of GitHub Enterprise. So a lot of these, this great tooling that the Tidyverse team have built for open source that we can adapt within the company. So we're able to serve this out on GitHub Enterprise. It's a Distill blog, another package from RStudio, and it helps us to get our ideas out there. And then finally, once we get the ideas out there, we need to seek more opinions, and we need to get new perspectives. So we're building this thing at Schneider Electric. Our term of art at Schneider Electric is a community at work. And the idea is we want it to be by practitioners for practitioners, that if we don't care what tool you use, we know that we're going to be using all different tools, but if we can meet and discuss what we think about when we create a visualization, this can be a useful thing. And we also hope that this can be a useful point of contact with the UI design team. So if we come up with recommendations that we hope that all of these different business units can use, that at least we've had a chance to discuss them amongst ourselves. And first of all, we'll get better ideas, and hopefully this helps to facilitate adoption of the ideas. So our result is, this is our first proposal here, and this takes into account color vision deficiency. It's potentially Schneidery. And we've had some useful feedback, and I'll share some of it with you, as I think I'm not sure how well it's showing up in this, on these screens, but we may in fact remove the reds, because for some color vision deficient folks, it was difficult to tell apart from the purples. And as I'm learning, that red can be a very useful color, but can sometimes convey a sentiment that you're not intending to convey. And with a categorical color palette, unless you want to say that something really requires your attention, we might go with something that's more neutral. But the thing here is that we designed this using R, but the thing that we deliver are the hex codes. And that the rest of Schneider, as long as it works, perhaps aren't terribly concerned that we used R. but that what we do deliver, that these hex codes can be useful in all of these different tools that then get used in front of the customers. So I'd like to spend just to sort of wrap up with with some ideas of other things that I was thinking to put in this talk but didn't make it into the talk. So I call it more broadly, is that under technique, I'm very much like this idea of the grammar of graphics as a description as well as a tool. And it's got this very handy implementation that will build your chart for you. But for me, it helps to focus my thinking, and it helps me to be able to describe in very clear terms to somebody who's using their own tool, map this variable to the x-axis, map this variable to your fill color, so on and so forth, use this type of scale. And this is just another way that Klaus's book has been tremendously useful to us. In terms of tooling, interactivity is something that we're interested in, and certainly in front of our customer that we're using interactive tools. And we're very interested in Vega-Lite. And indeed, right now, there's a talk by Alicia Shep, who's doing some super cool stuff to build Vega-Lite specs. So please make sure you get a chance to watch that when the videos are released, as well as Dewey Dunnington, who's talking about ggplot2. So I really wish I could have been in 4 places at once right now. Perhaps 3 places at once. But Alicia and I we have an organization on GitHub on Vega Widget, which provides some tools if you're interested in Vega-Lite and interactive visualization, some first steps towards that. With communication, just to reiterate, move things off of your computer, get them into the world. So nothing terribly new there. But this one is, I think this is my secret. This has been the secret to a lot of my success and enjoyment of my job over the past 6 or 7 years, is to get to know a local university. I am tremendously lucky that I work in Iowa, and I'm able to visit Iowa State every so often and work with Heike Hoffman. And this has led us to hire some interns, one of whom is here. I'm very glad to see her. And as well, that led to being able to sponsor Haley as a PhD student. So if you have a chance to get to know a local university, maybe you run into somebody here, I find that this is a way to sort of continue the spirit of this conference sort of throughout the rest of the year. So with that, I'm happy to yield back the floor to Fareed. Thank you very much. Some links that may be useful, and thank you very much.
So we have a couple of minutes for questions. And let me just check our Slido. And if you haven't submitted, you are welcome to stand up and ask a question as well. One question is, it sounds like the R team ended up leading the charge for something that is going to benefit the entire organization, a huge organization. Mm-hmm. Why do you think your team ended up with this opportunity/responsibility, and what do you think made you successful in the end?
Well, I think we're in the right place. We're a central organization, and because each business is quite rightly interested in their success and the success of their customers. One of our charters as a group is to try to get all to address the interests that are common to all the businesses. Mm-hmm. So I think we're in a good position to do that. This has been a first step. I hope to report back at some point, and with all of the other recommendations that we'll have made. But a lot of the time that we had spent last year was really getting our ducks in a row and thinking about things like communication and community, and essentially the 4 points that I brought up through the slides.
Great. Any other questions off the floor? All right, let's thank Ian. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.